If you're looking for another management game to enjoy, well, you're in luck, as the Steam Autumn Sale is now live with tons of great deals. Hey everyone, my name is Marco, and today I'll be giving you 20 great management games with some massive discounts. From building up a software empire to trying to keep all of your hospital patients alive, this list has it all, including some co-op titles for people with friends. I will say these are mainly business tycoon games I'm focusing on. For colony sims and city builders, click the link at the top. And if you find a game that you like the look of, perhaps leave a like, share the video, or even subscribe so YouTube knows to share this with everyone else. But let's get started. So in no particular order, coming in at number 20 is Software Inc., which is one of those management games that gets slowly more addictive the more you play. As you can see, you're going to be setting up and running your own software company. You'll be hiring people, building your own premises, and releasing software quicker than Windows security updates. It won't be a lot, but once you have a few small apps under your belt and hired a few employees, eventually you'll start growing your business slowly but surely. But then come the bad reviews, lawsuits, and bigger bills, and this game will make you question if the startup life is really worth it or not. However, once the game clicks and your business starts growing, that's where the magic happens. You'll progress through the years, unlocking new technology and trying your best to keep the competitors at bay in a game with some charming visuals and deep gameplay. And yes, the game is still in early access. It's been like 10 years, developers wake up. But if you want a startup game that will suck you into its addictive gameplay loop, Software Inc. might just be for you. Then coming in at number 19 is 2 Point Museum, a management sim where you get to run museums with funky themes from ancient history to marine life. Along the way, you'll collect exhibits via expeditions, design your layouts, build interactive displays, hiring staff, keeping guests happy, and decorating the place so it feels very alive. One of the best parts about this game though is the customization. From the walls to the lighting to the decor, you have so much freedom to build the museum in the style that you want. Plus the expeditions are quite fun. You can send experts out for artifacts, and rare things are always satisfying to unlock. The game is also pretty forgiving, so people that are not hardcore into simulation games, the learning curve isn't brutal at all. The humor's good too, but it won't be for everyone. It has these silly announcements, weird guest behavior, cute animations, and other absurd things to keep you entertained. And yes, I know this gets mentioned a lot and it might just be one of the best management games to come out this year, but if you haven't got it already, now is your chance. So if you like building in your management games, curating weird artifacts, and want something relaxing but still has a lot of depth, 2 Point Museum is definitely worth checking out. Then coming up next at number 18 is Motorsport Manager. And yes, I know it's old, but for all the motor enthusiasts out there, you can't miss out on this one. Basically, you're the boss of a motorsport team, so you need to pick the drivers, fine-tune your vehicle, make strategic calls during the races, and a whole lot more. Now, I'll be honest, I first played this as a mobile game when it first came out many years ago, and I easily sunk plenty of hours into it. I think it will be great for people that were put off by Formula 1 Manager that will definitely get a lot of enjoyment from it. From choosing the best tires based on the weather conditions, going for performance versus reliability, and even dealing with various sponsors. It's like this small dev team really thought of everything. Plus it's got tons of mod support, so you can take your replayability to the next level if you want. However, it might have some issues with starting up, so maybe check the post in the description if you're having issues. Overall, even to this day, it's hard to find a Motorsport Manager as refined as this one. Is it old? Sure. Is it fairly basic? Absolutely. But will you still get hours of entertainment from watching your car race around the track? Well, I'm pretty sure you will. If you love management games, even if you're not big into Formula 1, and want a game that's full of tension during big races, Motorsport Manager might just be for you. Coming up next at number 17 is GearCity, another one for my vehicle enthusiasts, especially if you can handle these AAA graphics. In the game, GearCity puts you in charge of your own car company. That means you need to design the chassis, the engines, the gearboxes, build factories, manage supply chains, set prices, the whole deal. It's like it does not mess around. Does it look like the result of engineers if they were put in charge of the graphic design department? Yes. But is it also one of the most in-depth business simulators of all time? Also yes, see, besides all the stuff going on in your company, you'll also have to deal with unions, face tough competition, and eventually even expand globally. It's very complex in terms of the UI, you won't always know what's going on, and it's not for someone wanting something casual. Like maybe check out the game called Automation if you want to focus more on the car design aspects. Some call it the car tycoon game. Maybe the comment section can help me out. But if you love vehicle business sims, economic strategy, and nerding out over specs and historical detail, GearCity is definitely worth checking out. Coming in at number 16 is Jurassic World Evolution 2, which is basically a dream come true if you've ever wanted to build your own dinosaur park. You're in charge of everything from designing habitats to sending out expeditions, researching new species, and then just sit back and watch these massive animated creatures come to life. The campaign is a bit short and kind of just a warm-up, but the real fun is in the sandbox and chaos theory, where you get to mess around with the what-if scenarios from the movies. And the dinosaurs are pretty legit, like watching a T-Rex stomp around or seeing flying an aquatic species for the first time. Feels pretty cool. Plus the game nails those Jurassic Park moments, like storms knocking out power, fences breaking, guests screaming as a raptor sprints by. It's pretty chaotic, but all in a cool way. Sure, it does have its issues, and yes, there is a new one on the horizon, but honestly, the thrill of running your own prehistoric theme park right now is so worth it. So if that sounds good for you, Jurassic World Evolution 2 might be the one to play. Then coming up next at number 15 is Planet Zoo, where you're building and running your own dream zoo from scratch. Here you'll be designing the habitats for the animals, choosing what terrain they'll get, maybe hiring some keepers and vets, and then trying to keep the visitors happy as well as your budget. Every animal has individual needs, like temperature and terrain, and they all act pretty realistically. You'll see them roam around, interact, maybe do some breeding, maybe show some dominance here and there. One of the cool parts though is the creative freedom. Like landscapes are all sculptable, you can dig rivers, you can add some hills, maybe build some scenery around. It all looks pretty cool. Plus the visuals look amazing and it really helps you be proud of your zoo. So if you like management sim games, you really enjoy animals, and enjoy building stuff and taking your time to perfect the little things, Planet Zoo is brilliant for you. Then coming up at number 14 is Big Ambitions, which might just be one of the most ambitious management sim games I've come across in years. You start out as a nobody trying to make it big in the Big Apple. You get some money from your uncle because it's always your uncle. Then you start a small humble business, which is a bit like a tutorial when you first start out. From that you get a little bit more money, maybe open up a restaurant or whatever else you want to try and grow your business empire. But the twist is that it plays more like a life sim sometimes, like something like The Sims, as you'll be trying to worry about your character's sleep and hunger, all while running around to deliver goods and visit your stores. So even though it's got a few issues, if you want to play a game where you get to feel like a real-life startup entrepreneur, Big Ambitions might just be for you. Then coming up next at number 13 is Let's Build a Zoo, which is another zoo management game except with less pixels. In Let's Build a Zoo, you kick off with a small zoo and gradually expand. You'll build enclosures, hire staff, manage resources like food and water, keeping your visitors and the animals happy. Then you'll get to research new items, decorations, habitats, and later on you can even do some DNA splicing or make some hybrid animals which can let you mix animals together. It's kind of weird, like if you've ever dreamed of seeing a panda owl or giraffe elephant, yeah, now's your time. And even though it looks simple, there's so much detail and freedom in it. You can personalize the look and flow of your zoo, decorate it with tons of stuff, pick and breed species, and even make some morally ambiguous decisions. Sure, the start can be a bit slow and the late game might feel a bit repetitive, but there's still a lot to enjoy. So if you like zoo sims and you weren't really a fan of Planet Zoo and want something with a little more charm and a cozy vibe, Let's Build a Zoo is worth trying out. Next up on the list at number 12 is Punch Club 2, a boxing management game that is simply a punch above the rest. Now I know what you're gonna say, this looks like a mobile game, and well, yes it is available on mobile, but this game is really addictive. While some might be put off with those pixelated graphics, I honestly really like them. It gives me waves of nostalgia every few minutes. So Punch Club 2 is basically 2 games in one. In the raid corner, you'll have a role-playing adventure game where you have to find out what happened to your father. But in the blue corner, it's a boxing management game set in this dystopian future. And the gameplay, well, it's not really what you'd expect. You'll need to train, choose a fighting style, and climb the ranks of the fighting leagues. If you're a fan of the cyberpunk retro vibe, managing a boxer to become better than Rocky and enjoy the nostalgic graphics, Punch Club 2 is definitely worth checking out. So while we're in the sports arena, coming up at number 11 is Tape to Tape. Now, I featured this game in my last co-op management game video because, well, it's very interesting. Essentially, it's a co-op roguelike management game about running your very own ice hockey team. Now, that is a lot of oddly placed genre descriptors, so even though it is a roguelike, you're still going to be managing a team of hockey players and helping them to win a series of intense matches. The game itself is quick without being overly complicated. Perfect for a Friday night with a bunch of friends as it's easy to pick up and play. Plus, you can pull off some really fancy moves on the ice, kinda like those old school hockey games from the 90s. Like, forget about those recent NHL games. Tape to Tape is a game that'll make you excited again to get involved with some over-the-top hockey action. It doesn't take itself too seriously, it's not overcomplicated, and might just reignite your love for the game, even if you've never played it before. Then coming up next at number 10, we have Megaquarium. Perfect for those who have always wanted to build and run their very own aquarium. It's for fans of games like Zoo Tycoon and Planet Coaster, where you'll be designing exhibits, picking which fish to show off, and making sure they don't all stress out and eat each other. On top of that, you've got to manage all the behind the scenes stuff like filters, heaters, pumps, staff schedules, all while keeping your visitors happy and spending that dinero. Like with most management games, the fun here is in the tinkering, like experimenting with layouts, balancing species needs, and solving little puzzles like how to cram a complex life support system behind the scenes without breaking the feng shui of the place. Sure, it might not have much replayability, but in the end, once everything falls in place and your aquarium looks like something that would make Aquaman happy, that's what makes Megaquarium special and worth checking out. Coming up next at number 9, we've got Graveyard Keeper, a management sim with a very unusual twist. You wake up in a medieval fantasy world and suddenly, big surprise, you're in charge of running a graveyard. From there, the game branches out into all sorts of odd jobs, like burying and preparing bodies, managing your church, dabbling in alchemy, farming, fishing, maybe even some cooking. Think Stardew Valley, but instead of planting daisies, you're in charge of bodies that will be pushing them up. It's also from the studio Lazy Bear Games, the same folks behind Punch Club, which makes sense looking at the nostalgic pixel visuals. But even though it's full of quirky humor and charm with those visuals, the game can be a bit overwhelming at times, which might put some people off, as sometimes you might be confused as how to do some things. But for the patient player, there's something rewarding buried beneath those rough edges. Once you get into its rhythm, there's a real sense of accomplishment in slowly automating tasks and seeing your graveyard grow into something special, which sounds a bit weird. But if you've got the time and a taste for dark humor, Graveyard Keeper is definitely worth checking out. Coming up next at number 8, we have Blacksmith Master, where you get to enjoy turning a tiny one-person shop into a mall that King Arthur would be proud of. I've covered this game before when it first came out, and even though it was a bit rough around the edges, I got quite a few hours of blacksmithing fun out of it. You start small, getting your staff to complete contracts like forging a certain number of spoons or mechanical bed pistons, I don't know. Eventually, you'll open up a store, start decorating the place, and that's when it all comes together. You'll unlock more ore types, start deforesting the village, and soon, epic gear will appear in your blueprints. You'll start craving more epic gear, so you need to expand, build more floors, maybe a basement full of kilns that'll make it look like some kind of Lord of the Rings set piece. The gameplay loop is fun, maybe a bit repetitive for some, but if you're into store management, Blacksmith Master is definitely one to check out. Then coming up next at number 7, we've got Badlands Crew, where Mad Max meets vehicle management from a franchise that knows what they're doing. The studio Runner Duck have made similar titles like Bomber Crew and Space Crew, but this time around, you'll lead a crew of survivors in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, commanding a massive battle wagon full of weapons, armor, and quirky crew. You'll drive through ruined landscapes, take on missions like escorting convoys or seizing bases, and constantly adapt your build and crew to survive against hostile factions. The game does a great job at throwing frantic action into vehicle management, like you'll be juggling gun turrets, healing injured crew, repairing damage in real time, all while your driver sometimes just takes a rocket to the face. Replay value comes from freedom to tinker with rig systems, picking crew perks, and trying out different playstyles, like maybe you want to have a tanky build, or maybe you just want to go all out speed. Sure, it's got a few rough edges, but if you love the intensity of mad maxing your way through a wasteland while trying to keep your crew alive and your enemies not, Badlands Crew might just be for you. Then coming up next at number 6 is Galacticare, which is essentially a hospital management sim, but in space. You'll be building hospitals, hiring doctors, treating weird illnesses like star warts or aroma borealis, and decorating your ship clinic to keep your patients happy. It looks pretty cool, and the humor can get pretty absurd at times, and it really leans into that sci-fi vibe rather than just plopping down some UFOs around a hospital. For fans of theme hospital and 2-point games, this is going to be right down your alley. I mean, it's pretty much theme hospital in space. Sure, it might not have tons of depth or complexity, but that's not really what this game is about. It's meant to be fun. Quirky, weird fun. So if you're into management games with odd humor and like this sci-fi setting, Galacticare might just be for you. Then coming up next at number 5 is Parkitect, which again is another rare gem in the co-op management niche. This game includes some of the components from the classics like Roller Coaster Tycoon, as well as some new twists to help it stand out. Like those previous games, you'll get to design rides, build up your park infrastructure with different paths, stalls, as well as those finances, and of course, some ride maintenance. But then you've also got a campaign mode with objectives, as well as a sandbox mode for pure creativity. It's interesting because you have that nostalgia at the back of your mind, but then it comes with updated visuals, which are not hyper realistic, but that adds a bit of charm to it. The learning curve to Parkitect is a bit steep, especially when you want to get into that nitty-gritty park management. But if you love that nitty-gritty just even a little bitty, then you're really going to enjoy it. From guest flow to optimizing all the behind-the-scenes systems, if you're looking for a co-op game where optimizing roller coasters with friends looks fun to you, maybe go check out Parkitect today. Then coming up next at number 4, we've got Tale Tavern. Oh look, it's another co-op management game. Aren't we spoiled today? In Tale Tavern, you and your friends will take on the role of fixing up an old and dilapidated tavern. Your great-grandfather has passed away, and now it's your job to run the show to help turn it into a tavern of your dreams. At the start, you won't have much. Everything is locked, so you're limited to the basics, like serving ale and porridge. The gameplay loop is simple. You'll be gathering, crafting, managing the tavern, and repeat, with quirky writing and oddball characters thrown in between. The fun in the game though comes from unlocking new items, mechanics, and then experimenting with recipes to keep customers happy. Plus, with it being in co-op, you can split up your duties, like one can go hunting while the other can complain about you not hunting properly. Sure, it's got its flaws and you can finish the game in around like 10 hours, but it's got a lot of charm that many will enjoy. So if you've got a friend or loved one and always wanted to run your own tavern, Tale Tavern might just be worth checking out. Then coming up next at number 3 is Cult of the Lamb, one of Devolver Digital's finest games which mixes in cuteness with cults and it somehow just works. Resurrected by the one who waits, you play as a lamb that has to build and run your own cult. You'll explore randomly generated dungeons where you'll beat enemies, find gear, loot upgrades, and then return to your settlement to manage your followers. This means preaching, building new structures, assigning tasks, keeping faith high, and sometimes making some sacrifices. Literally, not like cutting back into watching too much Netflix. It's a weird mashup of a roguelike action game and cult management sim, and what pulls it together is its charm. You've got this art style that's adorable yet creepy, plugged into a satisfying gameplay loop of going into the dungeon, earning resources, expanding your cult, and going back to the dungeon again. It's a really unique roguelike management sim, so if this looks good to you, then Cult of the Lamb might just be a lot of fun. Then coming in at number 2 is Project Hospital, where hospital management takes a more serious side if games like 2 Point Hospital or Galacticare just weren't for you. In Project Hospital, you're basically the boss of a medical center and you'll need to build rooms like the ER, labs, wards, and even surgery rooms. First, you'll need to do some hiring with some doctors, nurses, janitors, and more. Then you'll need to focus on some diagnosis flows, handle the budgets, take insurance deals, all the bits of running a real-life clinic or hospital. It comes with a campaign mode as well as a sandbox mode if you just want to mess around. But what's great is how detailed it gets. Like each staff member has traits and skills, and what is cool is that sometimes a patient will come in, you'll have no idea what's wrong with him, and you can actually take over the case yourself. Pretend to be House and be like, I don't know, maybe it's lupus. It's for people who want to grow and optimize their business, but maybe solve some medical puzzles at the same time, slowly watching your hospital grow before your very eyes. And I've got to say, I do really enjoy the graphics in Project Hospital. There's something about them. As much as I'm a fan of similar games mentioned, it's cool to see a studio going for a more realistic vibe to the management genre. Honestly, I wish the developers made a similar game but for different industries, but if you are looking for a management sim with tons of medical themes, Project Hospital will be for you. And then finally, coming in at number 1 is The Altars, which many believe could be Game of the Year if it wasn't for Silksong, Hades 2, and Expedition 33. Anyways, in The Altars, you play as Jan Dolsky, a lone survivor of a mining crew stranded on a nasty alien planet. The basic gameplay loop is simple. You'll build a base, explore, gather some resources, and try not to die, because literally being outside in the daylight is fatal unless you move really fast. But here's where things get interesting. To help you out, you create altars, which are basically clones of Jan, each with different personalities, skill sets, and different quirks. These altars help you juggle tasks like research, resource gathering, base defense, exploration, and more. But then what makes it really intense is how the narrative and mechanics lean into the tension of the game. You're always close to disaster, sun, storms, malfunctioning gear, and of course psychological stress among your altars, as making moral choices can be really tough. That's because your decisions ripple, kind of like the butterfly effect. So like how you treat your altars, who to trust, what you're going to be risking, and so on, it gets very hectic. It is a bit weird doing some of the manual labor under some time-constrained pressure, but I guess that's what this game is all about. This isn't a chilled out, relaxing management game. So if you're into survival, a beautiful sci-fi setting, intense narrative choices, and very high stakes, The Altars will definitely be for you. And that wraps up my video. What did I miss? Let me know in the comments section, and if you enjoyed one of these games, let other people know so that they can also find great games. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like or maybe even subscribe. But other than that, it's Marco here from Easily Distracted Games, and as always, don't stop gaming.